would say, I wish more doctors would talk like this. I wish somebody would have told me this years ago. Why doesn't my medical doctor refer more people to you? Because, we as patients see the need for chiropractors, especially chiropractors that practice this way. And let's tie it all together, because I'm hopefully going to give you guys some inspiration and some courage to be able to bring the philosophy into your office, in your communication. And here's one thing. So before we get started, this is what I've found over the years in practice, coming from when Kim and I graduated from CMCC, and of course, you CMCC grads know what I'm talking about. We didn't really understand the philosophy. I know there was a philosophy. I know chiropractic was based on a philosophy, an art, and a science, but I didn't really understand it. In fact, we used to have a talent show at CMCC, and I don't know if it's still going on. Maybe some of you can confirm this, but it was actually called The Innate. And I always wondered when we had this talent show, and there was some good talent back then. There were some bands, people that played music and stuff. They comedy skits and things like that. But it was called The Innate, and I always wondered, why would they call it The Innate? Like, it just didn't make sense to me. So it was kind of funny. So we learned after really attending some seminars in the first couple of years of practice, and that really sunk in. And we started sharing what we learned in philosophy with our patients, because it resonated with us so much. And we just felt this is something that we felt in our hearts to share, that the body's a self-healing organism and everything works through the nervous system, and subluxation is the interference that disconnects the physical body from the spiritual body. And we would phrase it and talk about it that way in the office. And people really adapted and loved it. Like, I mean, I was surprised. In fact, I was shocked at how well received that was, and the positive reinforcement and the comments that we got when we started really, really talking philosophically in the office, and how people would say, I wish more doctors would talk like this. I wish somebody would have told me this years ago. Why doesn't my medical doctor refer more people to you? Because, we as patients see the need for chiropractors, especially chiropractors that practice this way. So it was really reaffirming in my mind to continue on that path. And as we continue on that path, it became really easy to grow a practice. So I want to just go over some of the things this morning and just help you guys really reaffirm in your minds what we do and the bigness of what chiropractic can bring to the world. Okay. And let's make this an open discussion. I don't want this to be all just a one-way discussion. So if something resonates, just interrupt, join in, contribute, whatever you feel is on your heart this morning. So I got some stuff here. I'm just going to share my screen. So what I did is I called this talk Holding the Line. So in other words, staying vitalistic in a sick care culture, because we really have a sick care culture. I'm sure all of you would agree. Our culture, especially in North America, is driven by the pharmaceutical industry. And think about this, and Robert F. Kennedy talks about this quite significantly, in that let's say North America, the total of North America has approximately 6% of the population of the world, but we take 75% of the world's medication. That's crazy. So we really have a sick care culture, and it's been indoctrinated from the pharmaceutical companies. Let's be honest, the pharmaceutical companies drive the Western healthcare system. And I don't like to even call it the Western healthcare system. I like to call it the Western sick care system. It is a sick care system, and it is designed to keep people sick and keep them as long-term clients. That's their retention game. Their retention game is to start right from birth and keep people in that mindset where they need to be a regular customer of their medical doctor and be constantly given regular recurring medications. That's the way it works. So, and let's be honest, if you think that's extreme, then it's time for you to really start doing some research and looking into that, because I'm going to say the success of your practice is highly dependent on you understanding how bad this sick care system is in North America. And the more that you can jump on and I want to say the bandwagon, not in a flighty type of way. But if you can jump on the train that helps people to understand this, your practice will grow. People are open to knowing. In fact, I think innately, subconsciously, they already know that we live in a sick care system. They understand that. So they're willing to hear your thoughts on how bad our sick care system is and to give them an answer that we don't need to live in the sick care system if we start thinking differently. So if you can just hold steadfast to that and share that with people, you'll build an incredibly great practice, and you'll build an army of people who refer and pay out of their pocket because they value what you do and what you stand for, and they stay for a lifetime, long past the pain symptom stage is left. Okay. So that's really important. So let's really, and this is something I really hope that you guys memorize. And what is the major premise? Well, the major premise is that there is a universal intelligence within all matter that continually gives to it its properties and actions, thus maintaining it in existence. So, big picture, what does that mean? Is that means there is a creator that is greater than all of us that has created creation. The creator has created creation. So if you can really adapt to that, no matter what, and this is far exceeding any type of religious belief that you might have, let's just understand that there is something greater than this matter that we live in, this human existence. And if we can adapt to that, then, and we can share that with people, all of a sudden you open the door for chiropractic philosophy. They understand that so much more. So the thing is, you don't plant a seed and then water the dirt with chemicals. The seed just inherently knows what to do. The seed has all of the intelligence within inside it to grow to whatever type of seed that seed has been created to grow into. So it's just there. Vitalism is the innate intelligence, a self healing body as a dynamic whole. That's vitalism. So when I started my podcast, I called it the Vitalistic Voice because that is the premise that the whole podcast is based on. It's based on talking about vitalism. Whereas mechanism is what the whole medical system is based on, the sickness care system, is that the body is some sort of a machine and symptoms are viewed as the problems and they need to be suppressed. So we say that in vitalism, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts because there is life inside the body. And it's very, very simple that everybody understands that if you cut your finger, the finger heals. Everybody understands that. And it's such a simple way to explain chiropractic. You cut your finger, the finger heals. You cut the finger of a dead body, does it heal? No, because there is something missing in that matter. The life that animates that matter, the spirit, the innate intelligence, the life force, the personification of God within, whatever you decide to call that, something's missing. And everybody understands that on some level. So Christopher Kent really defines it very well. He said that chiropractic is based on four simple principles. One is the body is a self-adapting, self-healing organism. It's designed to heal. It has the power within it to heal. The nervous system is the interface that connects that healing, that innate intelligence, that spirit to the physical body. The nervous system is the connection mechanism. When there's interference in the nervous system, the body cannot heal and function the way that it is created to, the way that it is designed to. And that is typically caused by subluxation. Subluxation are the bones that protect those nerves, and when they cause interference on the nerves, the body cannot heal the way it is created to. And the purpose of chiropractic is to find and so to detect and correct the vertebral subluxations, remove the interference so that the body can be restored from a healing and function perspective. And it's very simple to describe it that way. So, and I'm going to encourage all of you guys that if you don't have an education system that articulately explains that to people, there's something lacking in your practice. And that's why you're not achieving the results that you want to achieve. That's why your practice is not at the level that you want it to be at. And that's why you have these dips and valleys, because people really don't own that philosophy. So putting those systems in place to make sure that you're explaining that philosophy and inspiring people into that philosophy is vital for building and sustaining a high volume practice. This is a little meme that I put in there. I find you remember this from, I believe it was The Empire Strikes Back. I find your lack of faith disturbing, Darth Vader says. So here's one thing, and this is what I'm going to go a little bit off the tangent here and say this is something that I became very passionate about. And this is a great way to be able to connect with people in the fact that you'll see people throughout your career, the majority of which are taking or have taken some level of medication, right? We're here in Canada, North America. There's going to be some level of medication, whether it's painkillers or some sort of prescription medication that they take on a regular basis, or maybe they have family members that take a multitude of medications. So what I did consistently was research what are the common medications that are being prescribed. So whether it was cholesterol medication or whether it was beta blockers like heart suppressant, blood pressure suppressant medications, whether it was antidepressants. And I became really well versed at talking about those medications. What were the brand names? Who made them? How prevalent were they? In other words, what type of money were they making the pharmaceutical companies every year? And most importantly, what were the major side effects of those medications? So I could really intelligently talk, whether it was in doctor's reports or whether it was one-on-one through consultations or whether it was at the time where we went through an x-ray report, to be able to relate back to the medication that that person was taking and talk to them about the dangers of staying on that medication if they didn't get under chiropractic care. So what I did is I went to ChatGPT just yesterday and I said, okay, what are the top grossing medications in North America right now? And here's what ChatGPT sent to me. And so you have from the number one medication is something called Keytruda, which is made by Merck, which brings in $25 billion per year. And these are 2023 statistics. And this is specifically given to people with various cancers. So right there, I have a huge alarm bell. And let's first of all just take a step back and say, I don't know if you guys know, but the cancer industry is one of the biggest grossing businesses in healthcare. So let's be really honest. And here's something to really be aware of is that many people who have been diagnosed with cancer are diagnosed with false positive tests. So the testing is set up to get people into the system. And many people get into the system because they've been given a false positive test that they have or have been diagnosed with some level of cancer. And of course, then the fear factor happens. And of course, everybody, when they're actually told or diagnosed that they have some level of cancer, people become submissive to the person they trust the most. And if it's their medical doctor or their oncologist, guess what? That's exactly where people end up getting cut, burned, poisoned. Medications, radiation, chemotherapy, or surgery. And that is what brings in so much money to the sickness care system in North America. It's not as common in other countries. So realize you guys are chiropractors in Canada, in North America. We are in a system where we're constantly fighting against the sickness care system. So Keytruda brings in 25 billion, various cancers. Then you got Comirnaty, which is a COVID vaccine. So think about this, is that in 2023, this Pfizer COVID vaccine was the second highest grossing medication on the market. Like, doesn't that give you an alarm bell saying, like, is this not part of the whole scamdemic? Like, you know exactly where this is coming from. Then you have Humira, which is given to autoimmune diseases, Ozempic, which you see this all the time. You see ads for Ozempic. And this is the mentality. When you think about this, when you have so many commercials on television advertising a prescription drug, which the public can't get. They can't go to the store and buy a prescription drug. They have to go to their doctor and they have to either encourage, demand, ask, request their doctor to prescribe them that medication. And then they incentivize the doctors to prescribe the medication with all kinds of bonuses and benefits and money essentially. You see how it works. It's the most ingenious marketing system on the planet. You go down here, then you have this Elia that's for eye diseases, macular degeneration, Eliquis, which is an anticoagulant for strokes. Uh, this one, Biktarvy, which is the HIV treatment. Whoops. And then you have something like Duprixent for eczema, Stellara for psoriasis, and this Darzalex for multiple myeloma. And again, another cancer type of medication. But you see these drugs grossing so much money. And remember, here's the thing when you look at the pharmaceutical companies, their main goal is to line the pockets of their investors. Their shareholders drive the direction of these pharmaceutical companies. So let's be honest here. The pharmaceutical company is not there for the best interest of health of the people in the community or the people in the country or the people in the continent or in the world. The pharmaceutical industry is there to create profit. Their whole research system is based on defining research that supports their sales. So, you guys, it's really important for us as a profession to understand this, but it's even more important for us as a profession to share this with people. And I'm going to tell you, when you want people to buy into your vision, when you open their mind and open the doors to this and can share some of these statistics with them, you gain followers for life because innately they know, people know that this is going on. But if you can put it in some level of articulation in their mind and some level of realization so that they can actually see the stats and they can see the corruption that's happening, you've gained a follower for life. And then are they open to understanding your philosophy where the body is self-healing, self-regulating, and just needs no interference? It doesn't need any help. They're wide open to that. So this is where when you guys can start putting this into play, it completely drives your practice. So here's some daily anchors. And I'm going to say this is why it's so important to be in our community, like connect with each other, connect with like-minded chiropractors. That's why I love going to seminars like the AFC seminar and I just like just chatting with other people. How's practice going? What's going on? What are the challenges? What are your big wins? That type of thing. So reconnect with your chiropractic principles regularly. So whether you're reading green books, whether you're watching videos, whether you're doing affirmations, be the owner of what you're delivering and adjust your own spine first and spirit. Adjust your own spine and spirit first. And I'm a real proponent for this. And I say, you guys constantly look at the people around you. And if you're delivering something that you don't own or you're not delivering to your own family first, it's incongruent. So look at your family, look at your spouse, look at your kids, look at your parents, look at your brothers and sisters, and ask yourself, are you caring for them the way that you want to care for your patients? So stay in community, engage with other like-minded chiropractors regularly. And that's why I give you guys credit for continuing to be involved in our group. This is so important to be poured into on a regular basis. It's not just about growing your practice, making more money, seeing more people. It's about just staying centered. We have stones and we have arrows shot at us all the time from the outside in. So the more we can stay together as a community and be strong and be resilient, that is so vital for us to not only build our own practice, but to continue to build this profession. Avoid isolation. It leads to self-doubt. And communicate purpose, not just procedure. So don't be afraid to tell the truth. I mean, and I'm going to say this is where the biggest turn in our practice happened was when we just decided to tell the truth and be completely disconnected from the result. I just basically decided that I need to share these facts with people. And if they didn't like us, that's okay, because I just felt that was the calling. But in doing so, in taking that stand, like it was nothing but just absolute consistent growth through that time. And reframe what health is. So again, it's function, not feeling. So make sure that that message is in your everyday communication, and be the lighthouse, not the tugboat. If you're finding that you're pushing people into care, then you become the tugboat, or you're trying to pull people into care, or you're trying to talk them into your care plan, or you're making a lot of deals, or they're not signing onto your care plan, so you're allowing them to go pay per visit. Then you become the tugboat. Then you've given in to what they want. It becomes Burger King chiropractic, have it their way. So I think when you can set your standards and be the lighthouse, then people start to follow you. People start to come to you, not because you're pushing them, but because you've shone your light so bright, clearly and consistently. People start to resonate with that, and they want what you know, and they want what you have. They just want to be in your presence. And that's the basis of how you build a big, successful, lifetime wellness care practice.